ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So I'm very happy to be here. I was going to speak my formal lines that I'm very happy to be amongst all of you. But then I realized that most probably it is the first time I'm seeing most of you. So thank you for being here. I want to introduce you to a term. It is called as Uttanka Megha. What is it called as? Uttanka Megha. This will become the new mantra now. What is Uttanka Megha? This term is used to describe rains when they fall in the desert. Especially if there's good rains in the desert, then it is called as Uttanka Megha. For the past 2 centuries, 2 to 3 centuries, not many people use this term. It's kind of disappeared from our vocabulary. But I guess old is gold or something like that. So Uttanka Megha. This term became popular after the Mahabharata was well spread amongst the population. So everyone knows what is the Mahabharata. There's somebody who does not know what is the Mahabharata. So what is the Mahabharata? Anyone? Mahabharata is history.
One of the Itihas and in Rohinipriya, where it talks about like two dynasties um, fighting for the throne and how Krishna guides them towards what is right. And then there's
Mhm.
like an 18-day war that where everybody it shows that how everybody has like their good and their bad and they basically being using Krishna's role.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a very good description too. So the Mahabharata, as said, it is itihas. The literal translation in English is history. Itihas, itiha. This is how it happened. So that is a dictionary understanding of itihas. This is how it happened. So historical presentations is itihas. So the Mahabharata is a book, or it is the writings of a famous author by the name of Vyasadeva. There is a little some difference of understanding that maybe Vyasadeva did not write it, he dictated, and then it was written down. So it is his dictations. The most famous episodes of the Mahabharata, of this entire of these writings, most famous, or let us say famous in the present times, part episodes of this book is definitely the history about two parties who could not resolve their differences, and there was a world war. When I say famous, I say it because this is what is most often repeated about the Mahabharata. However, there are many other aspects, there are many other episodes, there are many other chapters to these writings. And from one of those chapters, we will explain the term Uttanka Megha. So in the Mahabharata, Vyasadeva, in a generic sense, explains how Krishna, who is a warrior prince from the Yadava clan, is the supreme lord. Vyasadeva does that in a generic sense, like it is a part of the plot of his writings, the theme. So there are chances that one may miss out on this particular aspect of Krishna's personality. He may seem to be a very good politician, he may seem to be a scholar, very good in diplomacy too. There's also the aspect of Krishna being the supreme Lord, supreme personality of Godhead. And it is through these very subtle hints in the Mahabharata that the reader is gently prodded to seek the understanding of one's existence at a very deep level, personal. The understanding is very, very personal. So it cannot be generalized. Everyone has to have their own personal experience. So one is gently guided towards that. Uttanka Megha is a story of a great sage, a person of years of ascetic practice, somebody who has consciously worked with the human emotions of love, peace, anger, hate, pride, humility, has worked on all of these human emotions and has found a way to transcend all of that through years and years of practice. So these kind of personalities are called as great sages. They're called as rishis. So Tanka is a great rishi. Doesn't have any kind of personal interest and doesn't have any inclination to have personal favors drawn from any kind of from any relationships. In practical terms, a very matter of fact person, very matter of fact. Uttanka. So after the great war is over and the Pandavas have won, Yudhishthir Maharaj has been established as the emperor of the world, Samrat. Krishna takes his leave. He has to go back home. So he has to go to Dwarka. That is where his business interests are. That is where his family is, his responsibilities as a prince lies in Dwarka. So Krishna is going towards Dwarka. On the way, he meets the great sage Uttanka. So the sage offers his respects to Krishna. Krishna also offers his respects to the great sage according to the customs. Krishna being a prince and the sage being an ascetic, Uttanka being an ascetic. So, according to the norms of those days, the civil customs, an ascetic was very much revered by all classes of men and women. So, Krishna bowed down to the sage. And it is customary for a sage also to reciprocate with blessings. There's a difference between how blessings is understood in the Western world and blessings is understood in the Vedic concept. In the Western world, generally blessings are understood to be the fulfillment of one's unspoken desires. Blessings. So I was blessed to have this and I was blessed to have that. In Sanskrit, one of the words for blessings is Ashirvad. Ashirvad comes from the word Ashish or Asha, so desires. Another term for blessings is Vardhan. It is the it is a composite word, Var plus Dan. Dan is more prominent. So it means what we have received in charity. So with these understandings of blessings, when a sage offers blessings, the sage seeks to wish the total well being of any individual. So the sage would say, like in a generic sense, in a generic way, a sage would say, so do you have a house? Yes. So may a house be filled with grains and all amenities which will help you to have happiness, material happiness. If it is a king, then the sage will say, may your kingdom be filled with the Lord's grace, and may all the people in your kingdom be happy, and may they all look up to you, O king. Something like that. Or maybe may you be victorious over your adversaries, something like that. So Tanka, when he met Krishna, he said that I pray that your family is doing well. I pray that everyone in your kingdom is free from any strife, disease, and has all their needs fulfilled. I pray that the people in Hastinapur are also very happy. I hope the two clans, the Kauravas and Pandavas, are getting along with each other. This is how the sage was blessing Krishna. Krishna was surprised. The sage had most probably not heard about the big war. Now, if Krishna were, or if this was a situation in 2023, then we would like take out a phone and timeline. Let me go back on my timeline. See, this is what happened some months back. Because time is money. We have to be, we have to stay updated, isn't it? So we immediately would want to react. Here in this instance, Krishna stayed quiet. The sage had completed offering his blessings. And then, very gently, Krishna told the sage, "My dear sage, the two parties could not resolve the issue. So ultimately, there was a war, and most of the world's armies had come to participate in the war, and millions upon millions of soldiers have died. The sage became incensed, angry. How could you let this happen? Why didn't you stop the war? Why did you let the war happen? Why did you let so many people die? It is your mistake." Now, Krishna hadn't told him that actually he had also participated in the war. He felt that was not a right time to say that. The sage said, "You are to blame. You are cursed." And he was about to pronounce a curse on Krishna. Krishna was standing there with folded palms. He said, "My dear sage, please remember the seminar that we attended. There is a set between action and reaction. There is a very important principle. What is that called? Reflection. So the more we take time to reflect before reacting, it is helpful. The lesser that time, sometimes it could be very disastrous." The sage said, "I did not attend that seminar." Krishna said, "All right. At the ISKCON temple, they conduct seminars like that. Please attend." It's true, isn't it? All of us have that opportunity. If there is a stimulus demands a response. True? Many times people feel that response is always in the active form. Sometimes response can also be in the passive form. It's definitely a minority, passive response. It's helpful. How many of you are married? The rest are waiting to be married, waiting to get married. Good. It's- I wish you happy tidings. So, marriage is a very interesting situation. It is one of those relationships that seemingly does not have an expiry date. The rest of the relationships have an expiry date. You're like, no, think about it. So, two people have to find some way to deal with each other. It's a contract, social contract, or it's a vow in front of the divine that one has accepted a divine way of mutual existence. But interestingly, especially since the time every single individual has realized that they can emote. There are going to be numerous occasions where one would definitely feel that one is not being properly heard. Numerous occasions. After some time, one will just get used to the idea that, yeah, although I feel that I'm not sufficiently heard, so be it. But so one partner is not in the mood to interact, the other partner is really wanting to interact. So, how would that, just imagine that scenario. So, there's somebody who's feeling very, very emotive, emotional, and the other is in a different zone. So, this person starts off, this, that, and the other person is like, hmm, hmm. Then they realize, oh, you have to be an active listener. Really? Oh my God. Oh. So, so if it's not going according to how one of the partner wants it, it's like, you're not even listening to me. The other partner says, well, I am. You're not. Well, what do you want me to do? Well, you should respond. I am responding. You're not really responding. So after some time, the other person says, all right, I'd better keep quiet. So the person keeps quiet. So the partner who's really wanting to be emotional is like, now you don't even want to listen to me. You don't even care about me. So if you respond, it's not sufficient enough. You don't respond, somebody is not happy. So this never has an expiry date. In other relationships, you can like, all right, my brother, siblings are not listening to each other. I'm going and talking to my friend. Friend is not listening to you. I'll go and talk to my mom. But here it doesn't happen like that. So interesting. Stimulus, response. In between the two, which are simply an interaction of the senses and the sense objects, we should try and bring in the intelligence. We have intelligence. We should try to bring that. And hey, intelligence, come in like that. One should really very generously invite intelligence. Please take over. I have received this stimulus. There's an instigation. What is the right response here? And if your intelligence is AI powered, the processing would be quite fast. So, what is basically AI? AI is simply a collection of all the intelligence that has been dumped onto the internet. Cumulative intelligence, isn't it? People have dumped so much of data there, and now it is being processed so fast that we are like, oh my god, the machine is coming up with its own responses. It's like Siri is always, I hope Siri is not here. Like, hey Siri, Siri is always listening to you. Uh huh. Siri, I'm not talking to you. I'm so sorry. Constantly listening, constantly listening, analyzing, listening, analyzing, because Siri has to respond fast. Any answers you don't know, ask Siri, ask Google. Google, what is the capital of the United States of America? I don't remember. Google. So Google gives it. So just imagine how much data Google needs to have and needs to access it fast. So AI is about 100x times that phenomenon. Our intelligence has that kind of capacity. Intelligence can analyze through impressions what would be the best response in a particular situation. So if somebody gives a very good response, the other members of the community are like, oh my god, how did you manage that? Well, just processed it very fast. That is how they managed it. So then you have to go on feeding a lot of data to your intelligence. Hence, whenever one has free time, one should strengthen one's intelligence. Because whenever one is busy, one is definitely offering data to the intelligence. But whenever one is free, idle, one should continue on giving data to the intelligence. So that allows you to deal in this material world with minimal energy and minimal time spent. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, one of our teachers of the past, he tells us a story. He tells the story of a scholar, a Sanskrit scholar, visiting various places and trying to debate with people there. Just wanted to have an exchange of ideas, so would debate on Sanskrit grammar, the Sanskrit language. So one day he was visiting this village, and there was no one who knew Sanskrit in this village. So the village headman was not feeling happy because the village would lose their position on the hundred most likable places in the country. Would lose that spot. Did not want to lose the spot. So he called for a meeting. There is a crisis. We have to show that we are good. Everyone is like, yes, yes. So who's going to do it? Hmm? No one knows Sanskrit. So there was one gentleman, a daredevil. I will challenge you, the scholar. Good, good, good. Well, nothing facing to lose. So comes the day, the scholar is welcomed into the village. And as soon as he enters the village, this young gentleman, the challenger, he goes up to him. And the scholar says, Kastam, how are you? So he says, Pastum, Mastum, Lastum. Gibberish. Complete jargon. Complete gibberish. The scholar turns around and leaves the place. Everyone in the village is like, this, now this young man, ABC, defeated a scholar, he's a new hero. The next day, the village tabloid carried the headlines. Renowned scholar defeated by our own local brand. The scholar could only speak two words in Sanskrit. He replied with six. The scholar was stumped. So later on, they asked the scholar what happened. He said, I did not want to waste my time. I mean, how would I convince somebody who wanted to show off how illiterate they were in a very knowledgeable way? I mean, that really would need a lot of energy to be spent. He said, I don't have that kind of energy. So, stimulus and response. So, the intelligence has to be fortified with knowledge. And what does Krishna encourage Arjuna to do in the Bhagavad Gita? Typically, we would say that he encourages him to surrender. Just an addition to it, surrender in knowledge. India is a very populous country, isn't it? One of our in general, one of our favorite activities is to watch any conflict by the roadside. A lot of us are pedestrians. Small city, large volumes. There are there's some friction, conflict. The conflict is between two people, there'll be a crowd of 200 people very soon. And after some time, if it becomes a little bit violent, then a few people from the crowd also kind of, there's a saying in Hindi, it is called as बहती गंगा में हाथ धो लेना. So then you ask them that why did you kind of, express your feelings? What was the reason? He said, I don't know. They were expressing, I expressed. You really feel unfulfilled if you do not participate with the crowd. And this comes to a great advantage. Personally, I have seen that if there's a huge crowd, I just go, Haribol! And then people all look at me and they're like, okay, if he's saying Haribol, we should also say Haribol. So they're also like, Haribol! Have you ever experienced that? as members of the audience. Suddenly you're like, what happened? Oh, Haribol! You're attentive once again. So he asked him, what happened? I don't know. Somebody said Haribol, so he also said Haribol. Yeah. So surrender in knowledge is what is being encouraged. Otherwise, why are you chanting? Because everyone here chants. Or a better answer would be because it pleases Krishna. How do you know? They told me. There's no personal endeavor here at all. It's all about mercy. They told me. That is what we do. It is sacrilege to do anything else. I mean, no one is challenging you that you should not be doing it, but so defensive. Knowledge helps you to be productive. It saves you from wasting time being defensive. Is that true? Yeah. If you know that the code has been written improperly, you know about it. Like, "Hey, no, I don't think so." But you don't know about it. Somebody else says, and you're like, hey, that person should not get the credit alone. Therefore, I should also pitch it. Yes, yes, what you're saying is correct. But what is correct? Whatever you're saying. The blind following the blind. अंधा यथांधेर उपनीयमानस्ते पीशतंत्र्याम उर्दामनि बद्धा. So why are you not able to practice spiritual life? No time. How is it that you're practicing spiritual life? Because I want to be the best devotee. I want to really become a very good servant of Krishna. Borrowed punchlines. Not that it's not effective. Punchlines are effective, but they are effective when it is original. Yeah. Now, Prabhupada would say this about knowledge. He would say, Vidya dadati vinayam. Vinayam. Especially chose this topic because I've come to the house of an old friend. Vinayam. Vidya dadati vinayam. Vinayad yati patratam. If one has proper knowledge, then one develops Vinay. Vinay means humility where one is malleable and ductile. That is the definition of humility here, which means one can easily mold oneself according to what the situation demands us to be productive. What is Vinay? Vinay is Bhapkar. Vinay is you have developed the availability, the potential, the inner potential that you have developed it to be very productive by becoming, how do I say it? Flexible, by being flexible. Thank you. Hence, according to this, says Vinayad Yati Patrata. So knowledge gives you, knowledge bestows upon you Vinay, humility. Yes.
Prabhu, by being productive, do you mean being productive in understanding what has to be done at that situation, or what does productive here mean? Is it like time or decision making, or what should be done?
What should be done? What other understanding of productiveness do you have in mind?
Yeah, I was so for some people, I think like productive is like you have a checklist of things and then how fast am I getting it done? But then usually it's not done with the understanding of why they're doing it. Okay, I'm getting up, I have to go to work, I have to sit there for 8 hours. But I actually personally feel like being productive means whatever disposition we are at that point in time, you are able to do you're able to
Okay.
do something in the most efficient manner or the right thing to do and avoiding unnecessary conflicts, unnecessary conversation. I was just wondering if there is an actual definition of productive which we can all refer to and use as a guidance.
So for some people, you say that they have a checklist and they want to tick all the boxes and they consider that to be productive.
Yeah, and I've done that. Like I used to be that person, but I later realized that that's probably not that doesn't fit me.
Okay. So you're trying to be productive according to how somebody else had prescribed.
Yeah, I think it's like because usually these terms are like floating around.
Definitely. Yes.
So we try to understand the definition based on what people admit globally as this is how it should be, but it need not really sit within us. Like it need not align with what we feel at that point in time. Um, and I think like what you're talking about knowledge, like it actually helps refine that procedure. But I was just wondering if there is like an eternal definition that we can all refer to.
So are we suggesting that being productive is equivalent to, first of all, defining a product and in terms of that product being productive?
I think different people might have like different definitions, but for me, at one point in time, it was about like getting things done. But those things need not be. I need not do those things. Like it doesn't mean anything in my life.
All right. So getting things done which at that point of time seemed relevant.
Right, right, yeah,
So for that time frame, it was kind of productive.
right, yeah.
Okay. So knowledge helps us be productive every moment of our life. Right? Now, if we, as I said, if you have already defined a particular product and we're trying to come up with the boxes and tick it, then it is a very limited edition of what knowledge could do for us in our lives. So we need a more wholesome understanding of what it means to be productive in life. So for that, we'll have to define our end goal constantly with a long-term goal in mind. It's like wanting to believe in Elon Musk and go to Mars. That's a long-term goal, term goal. In the meanwhile, we try and see, like one of his missions took off, and after some time, spacecraft collapsed. So he's like, yeah, we are learning. So the next attempt, which could cost another few billions, would be a better deal. All right. So there's a long-term goal. So whenever we are ticking the boxes, did we have a long-term goal, something that would always be there for us? Let us say if we are considering ourselves to be existing for another 10 years, would that still be there? Then these boxes would be helpful if it helps us orient ourselves towards that goal. So that is being productive. So maybe sometimes we look at it from a temporary lens. Is that okay?
Yes, yes, Prabhu.
All right. So vidya dadati vinayam. Knowledge bestows. It gives vinay, this ability to be flexible so that we can be productive in the moment. Go on. Vinayad yati patratam. This flexibility and being very good at it, it makes us qualified. It does not give us qualification. It makes one qualified. Dadati, no yati patratam. Patratvad dhana, dhanam apnoti. Patratvad dhanam. Once we have attained qualification, that qualification makes us work to achieve some remuneration in life. So patratvat dhanam apnoti, that brings remuneration in our life, and dhanat dharmam tataha sukham. And now, because we have facilities in our life that allows us to practice spirituality or dharma. Is that true? We have a temple. The temple has programs. The temple has prasad. All of that costs money. Now, if there was no temple, or there was a temple but not prasad, or if there was a temple but not many programs, how many of us would be encouraged or feel encouraged? So, knowledge gives us not just money, knowledge gives us facilities. How? By making us qualified enough to earn those facilities. And earnings are maximized when learns how to be flexible in life. Flexible in terms of what? In terms of helping oneself, and we can help oneself only when we are part of the community. So this is healthy social life. Vidya helps you do that. That is what the quote, this verse is saying. So if you like it, then we may meditate on it. If you like what the verse is saying, then we could meditate on it. Vidya dadati vinayam, vinayadhyati patratam, patratvad dhanam apnoti, dhanat dharma tata sukham. And when one is practicing dharma, when one is practicing that which one feels most comfortable with, just like fish feels very comfortable in water, so the spirit soul feels very comfortable practicing spirituality. Sukham, happiness. The problem is, Uttanka Muni, Uttanka Rishi knew this verse. He's interacting with Krishna, jumping to conclusions. What made him jump to conclusions? Something similar to what made Arjuna jump to conclusions. An understanding of the welfare of the world coming from an unhealthy attachment to one's aspirations of how the world could be happy. I'll try and repeat it because That was very spontaneous. Arjuna was also in a similar dilemma, just as Uttanka Muni. Difference is Arjun could not curse Krishna. He felt weak. Here Uttanka Muni is feeling incensed. How could you allow the war to happen? Therefore, you should be cursed. I'm going to curse you. This comes from the desire to wish well for the world. This desire is born of an unhealthy attachment to the idea of what one thinks is the best for the world. So Uttanga Muni is thinking that the best option would have been for Krishna to stop the war. He could have asked Krishna, Krishna, did you make an attempt to stop the war? And Krishna could have explained, I did. I went as the Shanti Doot. It did not work out. But he jumped to conclusions. Oh, so many people died. You were right there. Why didn't you stop it? Hence, in the moral books of ancient India, it is stated that just as a donkey carrying a stack of sandalwood on its back does not recognize the worth of the sandalwood, but only groans under its burden, so do many learned people who have studied the Shastras or scriptures do not realize their true purport and simply bear the weight of the outward knowledge. So, knowledge is like a double edged sword. If you're very careful and you use it attentively, then it could help cure. However, if you are inattentive for a moment and that moment matters, then the misuse of knowledge due to inattentiveness or misapplication of knowledge due to inattentiveness can really create confusion. So, anyone who has put in time and energy to gain knowledge, it is now their responsibility to constantly be on their toes, to use or to apply that knowledge attentively, constantly. It's like they are like a nuclear production facility. If everything is done under controlled supervision, very helpful. But a bit of laxity, and there can be serious explosions. Most of the calamities in the world, serious calamities, either on the micro level of family or community or the macro level of countries, is brought about by people who are well loaded with knowledge. Those who do not know how to use the facilities and the resources of this world, they cannot do any damage to either themselves or anyone else. Not much. So, learned people have a great responsibility. They always have to behave maturely. It's like serious work. And it is very, very painful to see learned people want to take a break. It basically means that they have entered a realm that they did not really work to be qualified for. That is when they desire to take a break. It's when they become maybe a little too greedy, little too ambitious, beyond their calculations. That is when learned people say, I need to take a break. Unfortunately, when they take a break, when they miscalculate, the repercussions affect a lot of other people. So Krishna told Tankamani, chill. Tankamani is like, where is the pill? Give me a chill pill. It's nice to see smiles on your faces again. Everyone is so serious. So Tankamani realized that, yeah, he had unnecessarily shifted into top gear. Slow down. Lord Krishna then explained to him what happened. And he said, oh, now I understand. Now he says, my dear Lord, I was really on a serious tangent here. You corrected my course. Now you please give me a blessing. Interesting turn of events, isn't it? So Krishna said, all right, ask for a blessing. So Tankamani, understanding that how one can be bewildered, challenged in circumstances where one's source of nutrition seemingly seems to be cut off. Like Tankamuni was feeling a little undernourished, feeling that, hey, such a big calamity, and how could it really happen with the Lord being there? So it seems he felt as if he wasn't getting his nutrition. So according to Mahabharata, he asked that, my dear Lord, whenever I feel thirsty, please let me have water immediately. Very symbolic. However, we will not go into the symbolism right now. Practically, I'm tired of being very serious in this class right now. I want to have some humor back. So, we will not discuss the symbolism here. However, I just gave you a hint. That is why I said he felt undernourished. He felt that he was thirsty. He was feeling the thirst of anxiety. So he said, my dear Lord, whenever I feel thirsty, please let there be water available to me always. And then he's traveling few days later and is traveling through the Marubhumi. You know what is Marubhumi? The big desert. So he's traveling through Central Africa, a little to the north, the Great Sahara. He's traveling through that. And he miscalculated. His water tank, his water bottle is empty. And is seriously thirsty. Then he remembers his benediction, his blessing. He says, my dear Lord, I'm thirsty. Boom! There's water available for him. Isn't it? Just like sometimes we feel Krishna reciprocates. I really came late and I was wondering if I would have prasad. And as soon as I entered the room, somebody said, Prabhu, please come take prasad. Krishna You exist. I believe in you. I mean, really, we are such simpletons, right? We are such simple hearts. We are so open minded people. But then there are those days that we are the first in the temple, and somehow Kirtan is like really good, and we spend 5 minutes extra in the Kirtan, and boom, Prasad is over. Uh, in this temple, there's no good devotee relationship. No one cares about anyone here. Pain and pleasure, pleasure and pain, pain and pleasure. We are like the monkeys jumping from here to there to here. And every time a monkey jumps, doesn't really know where it's going to land. It feels it is going to land in a proper place, and suddenly it's in the dumps. I have this realization from spending many years watching monkeys jump. No, truly, I spent a lot of time looking at monkeys. They did not give us any option in Vrindavan in the good old days. And they jump on those roofs, those temporary roofs, and they had no idea what they were jumping on. They would jump, it would be like hot, and they would come crashing down. They felt that this was like any other time, would start rocking this roof, and then we are like, monkey, please stop it here, take what you want. So they would come like that. And then this was the peak of summer, very hot. So, anyways, the monkey mind. Sometimes the monkey mind makes us believe that ah, my faith in Krishna is rock solid. And sometimes the monkey mind kind of really tests us. Are you sure this is the best place for you? I think this place, most probably even Krishna has left this place. Sarcasm and humor. Sometimes it works, isn't it? So there's water. The water is being brought, and this container, water container, carried by a person, a human, that really looks trash. And there are some dogs with fleas all over them, along with this gentleman. And he says, water. Tankman is like, choo choo, go, go, go away, go away. You're thirsty, there's water. He's like, I cannot tolerate the sight of this person. Disappears. Then the Muni starts wondering, where from did this person appear right in the middle of the desert? Did I make a mistake here? Could this be a test for me? If it were, I know I did miserably. Is Krishna testing me? And the Supreme Lord appears in his full glory. He says, Dear Lord Madhava, Was it you who appeared in the form of that man, disguised as that man? He said, no, that was Indra. You are feeling thirsty, so I overreacted. As is my nature, I overreact. Correct? Krishna overreacts, isn't it? Ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya taititeshu chapyam. He says, I am equal to everyone. Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dveshosti na priya. However, my devotees, the equation is a little different because they are a little more than equal towards me. I am a little more than equal towards them. Maititeshu chapyam. So he said, I overcompensated for you. I sent nectar, not just water. I sent nectar, amrita. Indra said, impossible. I will not give the heavenly nectar to this rishi. Why should I share my nectar with this rishi? All of us here who partake of this nectar, we have done so much tapasya, we have performed so many austerities and gained so many qualifications, and you just want to give it cheap. And Krishna is like, yeah, that's who I am. So Krishna is like, please, Indra, for my sake. And Indra is like, if you were not my younger brother, because Krishna's younger brother is Upendra. Sorry, Indra's younger brother is Upendra, Krishna. If you were siblings, my God, that is Indra. That's all right, but I have a condition. I will approach Uttanka and test him. I will approach him as a complete dump. And if it is his, if the nectar is supposed to be his, he'll have it. It was not supposed to be his. He lost it. So Tankamuni said, Krishna, again I have learned my lesson. Why is Krishna consciousness so difficult? Why cannot it simply be chant Hare Krishna and be happy? And Krishna is like, because you chant Hare Krishna and you don't want to be happy. That is why. If you chant Hare Krishna and you want to be happy, you'll be happy. But you're chanting Hare Krishna and thinking, will I get Mahaprasad? No. You're chanting Hare Krishna and thinking that, will I be going to Vrindavan? Once somebody was chanting Hare Krishna and thinking, will I be going to Vrindavan? So he goes to Vrindavan, meets Krishna. Krishna says, hey. He says, Hare Bol Krishna. He says, how's life? He says, now I'm in Vrindavan. Krishna says, yeah. I've been with you since the time you were there chanting. You only noticed me in Vrindavan? He's like, oh, sorry. So Tankamuni said, Krishna, please, bless this dry desert. It is always thirsty for water. Bless it occasionally. So Krishna said, so be it. Since then, the deserts receive occasional downpours. And since it was Uttanka Rishi who asked Krishna for this benediction, those downpours are called as Uttanka Megha, rain clouds that bring relief to the dry deserts. Again, that is very symbolic. However, we'll end the class now. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. I also feel like clapping because the class is over. Time for prashad. Any questions or comments, corrections? Yes.
So, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, thank you for
Yeah, thank you for the wonderful class. So whole time, I was just thinking about like you spoke very nicely about intelligence, right? And so I had actually a lot of questions around first, how do you build it, right? Second, what do you build it for? But I would not like I would keep those questions aside. Primary question is that you said, right, there is this we are into these senses. Obviously we have our eight senses, and many times we just I feel that I don't use intelligence, or I struggle, like I just don't know how, I don't know mechanism of actually invoking my intelligence and then using it appropriately at that particular time, situation, moment, whatever it is. And no matter wherever situation, like whatever situation it is, whether I'm interacting with my friends, my family, my co-workers, my manager for that matter. So I would just want to know if there is any practical tips on how do we even do that, right? Like I have seen a lot of lessons wherein, oh, you pause, you take a pause, or you count 10, this, that. But then I don't think so, like technically that works for me. So I was just thinking if you have anything which kind of can help me, like, hey, use your intelligence. Just sure, pause, but use your intelligence. So is there any practical tip around it?
Now I have kind of lost my intelligence. I never expected to be on the spot like that. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada, he explains the form of intelligence. He explains what is the intelligence. He says the ability to discern between what is favorable and what is unfavorable. To make it a little more dramatic, the ability to cut out the unfavorable from the favorable. Now, that would be seem to be a little more dynamic, isn't it? Yeah, cutting out. So, who knows the best what is favorable and what is unfavorable for one? I, the individual. So we need to have, or we should start really respecting ourselves and having faith that we have that potential. Maybe we need to fine tune it, hone it, develop it a little more. But I definitely have it. That is why Krishna says to Arjuna also, Vimrishetad asheshena yathechasi tatha kuru. Deliberate upon what we have spoken on and then decide on your course of action. Yeah? Till the time you need more data, more information for deliberation, ask, inquire. Never ever feel helpless, hopeless, or incapable of inquiry. That's not possible. If somebody is not inquiring about how one could be making advancement, then subconsciously one is inquiring about how one can degrade oneself. So inquiry is always there. Jignasa. Hence, Vedanta Sutra, the first sutra is Athato Brahma Jignasa. Now you've made inquiries about happiness and distress. You made inquiries about, oh, how I could be happy and why am I distressed. Now inquire about the Brahma, that which is bigger than all of this, more relevant. This is temporarily relevant. Now inquire about that which is always relevant. So that is Brahma, which is, in simple terms, for Krishna consciousness, God consciousness. So we trust ourselves, let us trust ourselves a little more. We shouldn't be overconfident. We should not start trusting ourselves to be someone that we are not. That is illusion. So sometimes the intelligence functions in the auto mode in the form of intuition. But auto mode is not always helpful because auto mode is based on past experiences. We live in the present. So always on the toes, always inquiring, always having more data, more information to adopt principles that are relevant and give up those that are irrelevant. Okay? It's like within ourselves, we should feel that we are playing the roles of Arjuna and Krishna both. So, as Arjuna, we are trying to decipher what is intelligence, and as Krishna, we should be telling ourselves that, hey, the past has been lost. I'm establishing a new parampara for you now. New parampara for you. New vision. Knowledge in the present. Okay? Is that helpful? Hare Krishna. Any other questions, comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you so much for this very insightful class and this story of Uttanka Rishi. Your class, I feel, ended like a suspense story. I think there is a lot more to know after this, and it left like a long trail of thought.
Please trust me, that is where the story ends.
Yeah, but like I think you can help us a lot more on this story and this pastime. So, like the first, how Uttanga doubts about Krishna and how Mahabharata war happened, and then he realizes it there, and then again in the second time, he uh, ends up like he cannot figure out the test, and he again fails there, but in both the time Krishna appears and blesses him, gives him blessings. So how we can understand what's exactly happening? I mean, what does it mean that this specific behavior of Krishna with Uttanka Rishi um, in both the scenarios? What is being established here, and what is the learning that we can take and around this first part, and then you mentioned about how the learned persons have responsibility, and then if they want to take a break, that means they have entered some in the realm in which they are not supposed to be. But like someone like me, it's not that discreet. It's not like I'm inside it or outside it. The both natures are there. So. Um, So how we can understand in the terms of the person who is trying to get there, striving to get there. I think these both questions also connecting each other with the first and second one, because Tank Rishi also end up in similar situation. So
For the intelligence to work, vision is very important. What helps you have strong vision? Data information. There are two ways that one can have data or information. One is in the active form, by interaction with someone, where you ask or you share another living person. So that is active. And then there is passive, where you hear what another person is sharing through their recordings in audio format or printed form. So one is Vapu, one is Vani. Whenever possible, we have to always take benefit of it. Always. It doesn't always have to be like the standard format of what we consider knowledge to be. Let me give an example. Everyone was telling Prabhupada that there is no use going to the West. You will not survive. It is not possible to get any kind of support. You're already too old. So many ways. Somehow he found the conviction to travel. Everyone during Newton's time considered apples to be good for making apple chutneys. That is it. He turned out to be different and created a grave problem for all of us. Now we have to learn all of those principles. Yeah? So we have to begin sometime or the other and go on once we have begun, trying to understand knowledge or accept knowledge in various formats. The bulk should be the format that is most uh, comfortable for us to trust. That should be the bulk. But there are other avenues of knowledge too. Like, let's suppose you really want to go from place A to place B, and on the way you have flat tire. Then you do pray to Krishna, right? Please, Krishna, I really need to reach place B. What I need right now is a ride, a spare tire, or get the tire fixed. Correct? Now, these are also proper approaches because you have to reach point B. However, these approaches like looking out for another rider, and afterwards we can be grateful to Krishna. We can tell stories also. I had a flat tire. However, along with this, one has to at least spend some time figuring out how is it that I had a flat tire and I did not have a spare tire. Because if I did had have a if I had a spare tire, a good spare tire, then I would have spent my time changing the tires and praying to Krishna for help. all of this requires a lot of processing, constant processing. An intelligent person does constant processing. All right? The story, Arjuna is sleeping. Krishna is telling someone that go and sit beside Arjun. So the person goes and sits beside Arjun and he sees every pore of Arjun chanting Hare Krishna. You've heard that story? Nice story. Really touches the heart, isn't it? Every pore. Someday I want to be a great devotee like that, isn't it? Arjuna had trained his intelligence. Just as if there is a particular subject matter that is really troubling you or that which is very important to you, either you constantly wake up in your sleep or you dream about it, or as soon as you wake up, you're immediately into it. Because the night before you trained your intelligence subconsciously. How? By making that thing very, very relevant, that goal very, very relevant in your life. And that is being learned. Because knowledge helps you make things relevant in your life. It helps you understand that this is so very relevant in your life. It gives you that vision. It gives you those eyes. Yeah? So constantly, we have to see what kind of data we can accumulate, how to filter it, and properly channelize it. Helpful?
Yes. 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 Very helpful. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. So let's stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Jai.